Welcome.
Hi there, y'all.
I get the feeling this is a show you're going to like.
I don't know.
And I better honor that. I get that feeling. I just get that feeling.
I don't know what you're talking about, mister. Oh my goodness.
Well, welcome back. I know we weren't live last week. We played a recording. All right. We just had some stuff come up. But this week here, we are on episode 97, ladies and gentlemen. And this month this week, we're going to talk about this month. All right. Especially last Friday. All right. Was International Women's Day.
It was.
International Women's Day. Well, what would we be celebrating on International Women's Day when it comes to drinking food? No, it is not that I forced my mom to cook. No, first of all, no, that's not it.
That Craig, you got your mama to cook?
Hey, I'm lucky I had a mom that cooked.
Oh my
goodness. Poor daughter didn't. I'm sorry. My poor daughter had a father who cooked.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then I realized I didn't bring my fork nor my ice. So.
Oh, guess what? I have 2 forks. Here, take one.
Thank you. Yeah, I just realized I grabbed 2 spoons. I didn't grab my fork. I have my knife. I actually have 2 knives. I'm good there, but I'm like, where's my fork? And I don't have a fork. So I have to grab a fork. But before I do that, I do have to share some information because there's a lot of history that I was like, oh my goodness, there's always history on stuff. And that's kind of part of the fun.
But do you know why they made it, on March 8th to be International Women's Day? Well, my mother has told me this her entire life, so I know this. I've got this memorized.
Well, International Women's Day was a global celebration of economic, political, and social achievements. And the first time it took place was on March 8th, 1911. Mm-hmm. The first time. Now, since then, a lot of countries also celebrate the holiday by demonstrations, educational initiatives, customs such as presenting gifts, to women with flowers, and the United Nations sponsored International Women's Day since 1975. So it has been around for a little bit, and it's like when it goes back to 1911, I was like going, "Oh my goodness, this is so cool."
But that's not what my mom told me.
Really? Okay. Well, Women's History Month. There's a whole history on Women's History Month. So what did your mom say about International Women's Day being March 8th every year?
She said that they created it because it was her birthday. I said it on camera, Mom.
Oh my goodness!
She reminds us of that every year.
I love it. This has been a light bulb moment. So that is hilarious. Love your mom.
Uh-huh. And it just goes to show you, all right, the serious side of the show is Gladys. The joke side is Tim.
Oh my goodness. Well, so that's international, so it's because of your mama. So it's been around not as long as, fortified, that she's the one that solidified that day. So perfect. So Women's History Month, that's a little bit newer. That started back 1978 in Santa Rosa, California. So it was an education task force there in Sonoma County, one of the commissioners, that she wanted to salute women in general, and she planned a Women's History Week. So it wasn't just a day, it was a week. And that was the week of March 8th in order to correspond with your mama's birthday and International Women's Day. And so there was a local teacher. She's the one that ran everything, she's the driver of it. But they highlighted women's contributions in American history and culture and society. So there was a lot of schools that were part of this celebration. And students participated. They wrote essays. They did contests honoring women. And they hosted a parade in Santa Rosa, California. And that was the first time it was done. Well, after that, it wasn't intentional to do it every year, but then the following year, communities across the country decided that they wanted to also celebrate women's history. And so then in July of 1978, a historian chaired a 15-day conference on women's history. And then after the conference, the historian and the women's activist began to work together to lobby for National Women's History Week. Well, then in February of 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 2nd through March 8th of 1980 as National Women's History Week. And he some of the things that he was saying was that from the time the settlers came to the Americas, men and women had both worked together to build the nation, and that a lot of times women were were unsung, and sometimes their contributions weren't even noticed, but that there had been a lot of achievements, leadership, strength, and love that the women really put into building America as a vital part. And so he wanted to honor women. Then 1981, where it was a co-sponsored resolution by a Republican and a Democrat, Senator Hatch from Utah and Senator Mitulski from Maryland. They worked together to put this proclamation into place, and Congress approved the resolution in August of 1981. And then they requested President Ronald Reagan to issue a proclamation in observance of Women's History Week with the appropriate ceremonies and activities, as they called it. And then it wasn't until 1987 that the Women's National History Project, they petitioned, and Congress passed another publication that was proclaimed March of 87 as Women's History Month. So it took 6 years from the time it went from Women's History Week to Women's History Month. And so it's really an observance and the highlight of the contribution of women to events in history and in society. So it runs from March 1st through the 31st. And this year, there's always a theme. This year, it happens to be women who advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, however you want to, word it. But that is the theme for 2024, which I was like going, oh my goodness, that was kind of cool. But when I first started doing the history, I didn't start on the history of Women's History Month or Women's International Women's Day. That was not where I started because of what we do here. I started with women in distilling. That's where I started. And the first known woman, because distilling is really it's dominated by men. And women were actually discouraged from participating. And so everything that we see in the history during Prohibition, before, after, in other countries, it's always men. It's always started by men. But even so, the first woman to have been known to run a distillery was Bessie Williamson, who in Scotland, 1944, she was working on scotches at the Lafroig distillery in Insley. So very peaty. Insley is very peaty, a Scotch. And there have been other women that have helped, really push the distilling into the 21st century. There's a lot more women opening up distilleries, kickstarting their own brands. And there are a lot of women that are part of distilling now. In 2020, I did a women of the world who whiskey. And so they sent us, because I, got this experience. It was on Zoom, of course, but they shipped us 11 different whiskeys from around the world. And each time they were presenting the new whiskey, a woman who was either her brand, her distillery, was a master distiller or ran the distillery, whatever capacity they were in, they were talking about that brand of whiskey, and then we did the tasting on it. It took me about 3 weeks to drink all of it because I wasn't drinking all of it. I was just tasting it. So I had 11 little little glasses, the little tasters. And that way I could go back to what I liked. I didn't want to drink it all. I wanted to experience it and then go back to what I liked. And then, of course, I had the rest in the little vials and everything. And it took me about 3 weeks before I drank all of it. But 11 whiskeys is a lot because I think they sent us 3 or 4 ounces. So it wasn't a little bit. It was like a good amount. It was like, whoa. I'm like, and after 11, even though I wasn't drinking it all, I'm like, I have a buzz. So that is a little bit of the history on Women's History Month, International Women's Day, as well as Women in Distilling. Now, you have a particular brand of whiskey because we were going to do this last week. And so I had other information that I then, because there's always something. So I went from, oh, here's this information to, ooh, I have even more information. So we both picked 2 different, and I had a feeling what I wanted, and then I wasn't going to do that, and I ended up doing it. So anywho, for you, Tim, you picked a tequila.
I picked a tequila from 21 Seeds.
Yes. So this particular one, it's a flavored spirits are often cast aside going, ugh, why are we going to taste that? But this particular one has no artificial additives because originally when flavored stuff was coming out, there's all these additives in there. But 21 Seeds was able to turn this tequila into a spirit that's bursting with all these natural flavors that are both great for just sipping or enhancing your cocktail. So if you want a spicy margarita, I think this would probably go well. And it was a collaboration between 2 sisters, Kat Hentas and Nicole Emmanuel, and one of their friends, Sakira Singh. So this came out in 2019, and they've been thriving. They got acquired by one of the giants, which is Diageo, in 2022. Now, Diageo, I haven't looked at it lately, but I know when I met the president at the time, it was ran by a woman. Amazing person. And when we were doing some tastings, I'm like, here she is. Here's this woman helping serve drinks. And I'm like, is that who the speaker was, who runs Diageo? And yeah, I mean, she was like out there just taking care of people. That's what she did. But this particular 21 Seeds, they have Valencia orange, grapefruit hibiscus, the one that you have, the cucumber jalapeno, and each of them has received awards and industry acclaims. So while I go get my fork and my ice, tell them what you think, and then I'll be back.
This has a really nice spice to it. I could sip on this all by itself. I don't have to put this in a margarita or anything. Don't have to put in anything because it's just, I mean, you can smell. You literally, I mean, it's like the jalapeno like tickles your nose, but you got the smell of cucumber while you're bringing it in, and it just, and now it's not as smooth as some other tequilas. It's a little rough, all right, but it is still sippable. And as it rolls back my tongue, I get most of the taste onto it still on the roof of my mouth and not on my tongue. I don't know why, but it seems like all the flavors probably that they want to all go up to the roof of my mouth, not my tongue. But now that I swallow it, yeah, I can feel it on the sides of my tongue. I'm telling you guys, it's a really good roller. Rolls right down the tongue.
Oh, good to hear on that. So I ended up with, because I was debating what I wanted to present today. I was like, I thought Freelance Spirits because I like their bourbon, and I was thinking I do have a bottle of their gin because the bourbon's long gone, the last one I got. But I thought, you know what? Freelance Spirits, we've had them on the show. I then thought, well, who do I know that's a female that has a spirit? And then I thought, oh, well, let's see now. Trail Distilling is woman owned. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, it's my gin. So I thought I'm going to present Lady Gin Gin. This was last week. So this was what I was getting ready to present last week was Trail Distilling because they even won Women Distillery of the Year in 22, I think it was. They've won numerous awards for their gin. They have a really good gin. They have one that's City of Roses gin. They have one that's more citrus forward, and then they have their traditional dry gin. So that's what I was going to do. However, on Friday, I get this notice from Freelance Spirits, because of course I'm on their list, and they had a particular barrel rested Old Tom gin that it was a special release. They hadn't talked about. They were teasing there was going to be a release, but they didn't say when. Well, they said when. They didn't say what. And so they had the Old Tom gin that was in a barrel from Uncle Nearest, who's also owned by a female. And so they distilled it for 6 months in Uncle Nearest whiskey barrels, and hence this gorgeous color. And $5 of the sale of the Old Tom gin is actually donated. So this was done specifically for International Women's Day, and they do donate part of their proceeds. So that's why I was like going, oh, I got to do that. So $5 of every bottle goes to their Regarding Her, that is uplifting women in the food and beverage industry. So I thought, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to present, because Freeland is doing, it was just perfect. They did this specifically for women's history, and I got a baggie. So this is my new little tote bag that I have. So I had and it's in the shape of the teardrop. So this was like super cool. But Freeland, this has, and I haven't tried it. When I went there on Saturday or Friday, I picked it up on Friday actually, because I'm like, I want it. So I went to get it. They didn't have it open, so I didn't get to try it. They had a special thing going on Saturday. I already had plans, so I wasn't able to do that. Otherwise I would have gone. But it's supposed to be this oakiness that comes because of the Uncle Nearest barrels. And it's supposed to be the core is the dry gin, which is then primed for aging. So it's juniper heavy, which I'm not a big juniper fan. However, because it's rested for 6 months in a whiskey, I might really enjoy it. So it's supposed to be this herbaceous gin with oakiness and orange and caramel, so a little sweetness in there. So the two ladies, Butler and Molly Trope, they have come together to do this, because Butler, she leads the team at Uncle Nearest and is known to be the first Black female master blender in history. Mm-hmm. And I got to meet her, oh my goodness, pre-COVID, when she was out here, when she had first become the master blender, which was amazing. And then Molly Trope, who's the youngest female master distiller in the world, and she's the one from Freelance Spirits. So her, I still need to meet her. I haven't met her. And I'm like trying to get a hold of being able to talk to her, because she's amazing. But each of their bottles is uniquely blended, and they want to bring in tradition and innovation. And not only is Freelance Spirits, the owner is female, the master distiller is female. It is 100% woman ran. While I was there was one of the young ladies took care of me, and then another one came out, and I said, okay, what am I going to, what drink am I going to make with this? So she's the one that Rose from Freeland is the one that gave me the idea to do the Martinez. She said that would be very well. But it's, to have that history, I thought was kind of cool. So the gin goes well with appetizers like olives, a charcuterie board, or with steak, pasta, or roasted meat. I ended up with kind of a spicy pork chop. So this was because I like the Pioneer Woman. I wanted something that was from a woman chef besides me, because I'm not a chef. I'm just a pretty darn good cook in my opinion. So it's a Milanese pork chop. with the salad. It was supposed to be arugula, but I didn't want the arugula, with shaved cheese on top and lemon. It is a little bit, I added a little bit of spice to it, and then on top of jasmine rice. And then the other thing that I grabbed was a buffalo cheese with almonds in it. So I thought something spicy would be good with this. Anything sweet, I think, would make it, would deter from the taste of the gin. So I went with spicy and a little bit stronger flavors to go with it. So that's what I went with. And what were your foods?
So I come up with this whole thing now. I wasn't really looking for it, but it showed up right in my world. Yesterday we go to we have a membership over at Casa Manana Theater here in Fort Worth, Texas, and they have someone at the table set up with food onto it. So I'm going to go check it out, right?
Right.
And it was from these people who are nothing bunt cakes. I'm going to show you their pamphlet. I'm going to show you the whole insides. I'm going to show you through all right. I'm even going to give you their website because I'm like, that's just how good they are, right? Their website is on the bottom right there, nothingbuntcakes.com. And if you go there, it will actually tell you that it is a company started by two women. Dina and Debbie founded Nothing But Cakes in their Las Vegas home kitchens. All right. And it has now grown to over 500 bakery locations in 40 states and in Canada, becoming the nation's largest specialty cake company. All right. And that takes a lot because there's a million cupcake companies out there, right? Yeah. These guys here, they just happen to be, the Fort Worth one just happened to be there yesterday selling. We bought a couple of them.
Oh, I want to see.
I got me. All right. What man would not get red velvet cake?
Oh, show the top. Oh, that looks pretty.
Yeah. So the top, there we go. All right. And they're still in the container. And the second one is the strawberries and cream.
Oh, hold on 1 second. I need to get a picture of that.
So
there you go.
So like Nothing But Cakes is getting shout outs tonight. They don't even know it. They have no clue, right? Just like 21 Seeds got a shout out tonight and they have no idea.
I did tell Freelance Spirits, that is so cool. Those are the fun times. So I'm sure that my pork chop has gotten a little cold by now, but in case you all didn't know, you can eat pork cold. It is okay. It is okay. So don't, freak out like, oh my goodness, it's, my pork is cold. It's okay.
This is really good, moist cake. And that was the strawberries and cream. I didn't even get to the red velvet yet. I got another one out there too, but I only brought two in for the show. I do have to share these with my family. But I am going to share them with all you first. So, even that red velvet is very, very moist cake.
Nom nom nom.
And how many times have you gotten a cake that was from a brand name bakery like this, and it's usually dried out by the time you get it home.
Right. Most of the times you have to eat the things right away.
Yeah.
So
this is pretty darn good. I'm going to save some for my wife. Not much, though. I'm going to eat most of it on it.
Oh. That buffalo cheddar cheese. Oh, wow. Super yummy.
Now let's see how well it pairs with
your tequila.
More of that tequila.
Whew, that is spicy. That buffalo. Wow, that definitely has a kick. So,
well, I'll tell you this: it makes that tequila a little more buttery.
Okay. Oh, that's what I was going to grab my little guy over here because I want to taste this by itself. So I definitely want to taste the gin by itself before I make the Martinez. And the interesting thing is that when I was looking up, and we've talked about the Martinez before, and I had noticed that most of the recipes that call for the Martinez called for an Old Tom gin. So it's not like it's out of the norm for Rose to say, "Hey, do that." Wow, it does have that floral, junipery forward. And truly a Martinez, it's best if you are utilizing a cold glass. If you did not do that, then one of the ways you can make your glass cold is by adding ice to it and letting it sit for a little bit. If you add water, it'll get cold faster, but just by adding ice, it'll cool down your.
Oh man. So the tasting portion of our show, I'm going to be a glutton for punishment tonight. Oh my God. It's good.
Wow.
Never in my mind would I ever think to have jalapenos and cucumbers with red velvet cake.
Right. I would not have done that either.
It's pretty good.
I'm thinking carne adobada. I'm thinking tacos, enchiladas, something that's tostada, something fresh, either spicy or fresh, or a combination. A guac.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. All right. I would rather be eating me some of those tacos from over there, Fuzzy's Tacos, with this right now. Or you know what tacos would go really good with this? I remember that guy who used to come around and make tacos out of the trunk of his car when I worked at the car wash. Now those tacos would go really good with this. Some of y'all know what tacos I'm talking about.
Mm. That's a good balance. Yeah. Because there was a little bit of lemon on the salad with the cheese, and the pork. It went well. But I want to try it now with the buffalo.
Oh, you know what we had last night that I probably would have been great to add with this?
Yeah.
So, and when we do this, we usually get a Riunini wine. All right. But we had taco salad. Gwen makes her own, like she'll put a thing of ground beef in and cook it up. She makes her own taco mix. She doesn't buy a taco mix. She makes it. I know she's got some cocoa into it, some things like that. And she just grabs stuff out of the pantry and mixes it up and makes it fresh every time. Add some beans. All right. Add some tomatoes, some of the grape tomatoes, a good spring salad mix to it. Right. You add that in there. I think she added some hominy into it. And what she didn't add this time was we had some avocado, but she didn't add any jalapeno. Probably a little bit of jalapeno chopped up into it would have been good.
Okay.
All right. A little bit of cheese on top. And then you pour some salsa over it. And, you mix all that together and pour some salsa over it. And then you just throw some chips in there and eat it like a salad. And I'm telling you, this would go good with that. But usually Gwen and I we have a Riuniti. It's a Riuniti wine that we actually have with it. It's a very cheap, inexpensive wine you get from like Kroger, all right, or Ralph's.
Okay.
Has it. Maybe Tom Thumb would have it too. Things like that. So, yeah.
So this the Martinez calls for 1.5 ounces of Old Tom gin, 1.5 ounces of sweet vermouth, or you can do a combination of sweet vermouth and dry vermouth, but definitely more sweet vermouth. So 3/4, 1/4 sweet vermouth to dry vermouth. It also calls for Luxardo maraschino liqueur. So it's 1/4 of an ounce. So it really truly is just like a teaspoonful, because this stuff is strong. So it will definitely kick your butt if you are not careful with it. So this one is a maraschino liqueur. It has Angostura bitters, but you can also do a combination of Angostura as well as orange bitters. So the Bitter Housewife bitters as well as Raft, because that's what I got. And you then, on this particular one, even though it's in the shaker, y'all, this is not a shaken drink. This is a stirred drink. So, but I'm putting it in the shaker because I then have to pour it into my other glass over here. So, where's my... I need to get one of those glass stirrers, the ones that are kind of, it looks like a...
Well, you know me, I got my big spoon for stirring. I just don't have it in here tonight because I wasn't thinking about stirring. I'm kind of glad. So I was going to use this. There's a guy, Adam, used to be at the liquor store we used to go here. All right, Adam's not there anymore, but he turned me on to this Kisso Citrus margarita mix. Of course, this one here is outdated. All right, the used by 11/8/2023. So I tasted a little bit of it. All right, I mixed it with it first, and that one got put off to the side because it really did not taste too good. I will be pouring that out tonight.
Yeah.
But I thank you, Adam, for giving it to me. I know Adam he doesn't work at the liquor store. Who knows if he watches our podcast anymore? He used to play our podcast in the liquor store, but anyway.
Aw, that is so cool. Wow. So I'm going to look at this beauty of this Martinez. Oh, some call for lemon, others call for orange peel. I'm going to go with orange just because that's my preference. But, whenever I like to get some of those oils out there, and some folks just put it in like this, others put it within. So I'm going to get a picture of it here because I think that looks, well, I don't know how I feel about that. Let me let it I want a pretty picture.
I'm
So
going to seal everything back up. Otherwise, I will eat all those bunk cakes and my poor wife will have it. And I won't have any room for dinner when I get done here.
Yeah, no, we need you to.
So, which I'm going to fire up the grill and do a nice little steak tonight.
Oh, yum.
Hash browns.
I always never get myself properly in the pictures. I always wind up cutting myself out of the pictures.
I gotta make fun of her picture taking.
Yes. So this is a Martinez. So there is. Oh, that's yummy. I like that. So get the picture going this way. Because I want
about like I did with while you were gone tonight, I was describing how this tequila rolled down my tongue for taste. Have you ever thought about that in taste where you put it across your tongue?
Oh yeah. So I did post one of our events that is out there that was at a Mexican restaurant here in outside of Portland, but in Portland, where the chef or the owner, he put a delicious menu together to go along with the tequilas that we were tasting. I was the one presenting, so I had the honor, which was really cool, to be able to present to a group of 20 people on tequilas and how to properly taste the tequila. And you always want to give tequila a good respect, not just do it out of a shot glass. Because I said, we're not 22 doing shots, during spring break.
Spring break may be going on, but I think Gladys and I clean the show around the people who are tasting their alcohol, not just trying to see what the alcohol volume is. To get
right.
Drunk. So I'm just, as we go through now and talk about our weekend, I'm curious what you did over the weekend. But while you're tasting, I'll tell you something we did. We go to Casa Manana for the show, but usually we go Saturday night and we stay at a hotel and go visit the bar and then go up Sunday morning to a place called Mashed, which is the moonshine bar that I've told you about. Here we have here. Well, we went to the Moonshine Bar, and of course, the first thing I get is their Bloody Mary. They have a very kick-ass good Bloody Mary. I still can't do Tito's vodka in mine. I still get Grey Goose in mine, not Tito's. Sorry. Just can't do Tito's vodka. Then I said to him, I says, do you have some of that American-born original?
And he says, well, yes.
Yeah, we do. So, of course, I always have 2 bottles of American Born here, as well as I have 1 bottle left of Tim Smith's Climax Moonshine. But I said, let me get one. And I'm about halfway through sipping on that. And this wonderful guy, his name was Jake. I appreciate Jake. He was a really good kid. All right, I'm sipping on it. I go, oh, man, that's good. And he goes, I usually get my moonshine with some flavors. I'm like, I don't do flavors in my moonshine. I like it all by its lonesome. To which I sat there and sipped on it. I smelled onto it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, you know that springtime, you can you can smell the flavors in it. Mm-hmm. And I took a sniff of that moonshine yesterday, and I swear I could smell the sugar added to it. I could smell the corn. All right. I could smell the barley in it. Oh my God. That was the best joy of my morning, to which I went through and drank so much that Gwen had to drive us over to Casa Manana. And Gwen's like, I got my man a little tipsy. Yeah,
you were thoroughly enjoying it.
I was. All right. When you can actually taste, like I was describing this, I can still smell, by doing this, the cucumber and the jalapeno. Right? That's where you enjoy what you drink. When you can sit there and go, you can almost get high off the fumes, because the fumes are hitting you, but they're smelling so good. 21 Seeds, man, you guys give me tonight, because I'm telling you, I can smell a jalapeno and cucumber both when I just take a smell, not a taste. I don't even have to take the taste to get all the flavors you've incorporated in that tequila.
Mm-hmm. I definitely like it with the pork. It tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
But with the cheese, this buffalo cheese, it just boom.
To which Miss Adina, she won't put a comment on here. She's watching. Her name is Adina Payton. She's a website customer of mine. I love her to death. All right. She texted me now. Jalapeno and cucumber. See, Adina, I'm going to show you your name.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So Adina watches our show, and Adina was asking me all about the show because I was talking to her this afternoon. And Adina doesn't drink alcohol anymore, but she knows flavors. That girl knows flavors. And her and I did some talks about flavors and how much you and I, Gladys, talk about flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Still stuffing you, huh?
Everything I've ever cooked from the Pioneer Woman,
mm-hmm.
I've never been disappointed.
See, we didn't think about that. When you go into International Women's Week, there are so many things out there that you could grasp from for a theme. I think about it. You think about theme parties. You could do International Women's Day theme party. There is 1,000,001 blogs with women who cook or come up with recipes that are original.
Yeah.
There is a ton of TV shows. All right. We watch The Kitchen. All right.
Oh,
Two of the girls on The Kitchen. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then you go down to how many female-owned companies like 21 Seeds, all right, like your Trail Distilling, that are female-owned, female-led companies, all right, that can fit that theme. Even Nothing Bundt Cakes, female-themed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could do a theme party around almost anything if you sit and think about it creatively for just a minute. We come up with today's show literally 2 weeks ago. We sat and said, what are we going to do for a show next week? And I said, let's do something around International Women's Day. We didn't know what we were going to create, but look at all the opportunities that showed to us when we went, let's just do a show around International Women's Day.
Yeah. And it wound up moving because we were going to do it last week since International Women's Day was Friday.
Yeah.
We were looking at Monday, but with schedules and such, we moved it. I had made a Julia Childs beef stew because I love Julia Childs. But most of her food, it takes a little bit of time because she's focused on French cuisine. And so I wanted to highlight that, but I'm like, I don't have time to, be cooking this big meal. I didn't want to make the same thing. But I did find out that the reverse martini was Julia Child's favorite drink, which is essentially, it's a gin martini, but it has more vermouth than gin. Usually a martini has more gin than vermouth. She has it upside down or reverse. So she calls it because it has more vermouth than the gin, because she wants to balance out the flavors where you get more of both the vermouth and the gin coming through versus the alcohol burn of a gin. So that was and then of course it has a splash of bitters in there. So I was like, oh, well, had I known this last week, I probably would have done a reverse martini in her honor. But since I had the Old Tom gin, I said, no, I'm going to go with the Martinez in this case. And it is absolutely amazing. I don't know that the Old Tom gin would be the best martini. I think the dry martini, and as I was looking and saying, oh, what, and I thought I knew what a reverse martini was, but I was looking, and Freelance Spirits gin, dry gin, was one of the options that they suggested. And I was like, Freelance just all over the place. So I opted not to, although I do have the dry gin at home. I wanted to really highlight the limited edition Old Tom gin, especially because $5 goes to a good cause. So give it back. So that's kind of cool. And this is really cool because the bottle actually says Freeland, Portland, Oregon. You can see it right there. So you can actually feel it. It's raised. So it's just, they're really good at, their gins are really good. And I'm not, again, I think I've mentioned, I'm not a big gin drinker. I was impressed with this. I was like, wow. And I think having it sit in a whiskey barrel for 6 months, that added a little bit of character and flavor to it that I thoroughly enjoyed. And even though it was supposed to be that juniper forward, it being in the whiskey bottles toned it down, and then turning it into a Martinez, super yummy. I like it. I like it. So I'll have to open up a bottle of the Lady Gin and do that, but not just yet. I'm like, it's the precious. I don't want to open it.
Yeah. So I knew. All right. So yeah, you talk about Julia Childs, the beef bourguignon recipe.
Right.
Gwen does that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's the one that
I recipe. But as we were going to International Women's Day, I swore I watched a documentary that there was a major food company that had a female leader for a long period of time, and I found out it was true. All right. It was the General Foods Corporation, was led for a long time, all right, by Marjorie Mayweather Post.
Okay.
All right. And this was like in 1914.
Wow.
Like, women didn't own companies back then. They weren't allowed to, but she led what is now General Foods and the Post Company, what started out as a Post Company, to General Foods and buying a Bird's Eye and things like that. She led in running that company to where the success was through the early 1900s. And I remember reading about that story somewhere, and I looked everywhere for it. Like, I know. I finally found it. So anyway,
that is very cool.
Yeah. So when it comes to food and drink, there are some great leaders, women out there, all right, who created great foods, all right, not just your cooks like Julia Child, but great food founders like Marjorie Mayweather Post, all right, and then like the distillery tonight, like Trail Distilling, all right, and 21 Seeds, which we have both shown you examples of tonight. So
yeah, the other thing about Julia Child, she grew up in Pasadena, California.
Yep.
I was like, I did not know this. How did I not know this? So that was kind of cool to find that out. And maybe I did know it at some point, but as I'm researching, this was last week, because I wanted to highlight Julia Childs because she's just the poster child when you first think of female chefs.
Yep.
And now there's a lot more. I mean, there's some master chefs out there that are amazing, that are just kick-ass and they're fun to watch. But Julia Childs, she was doing something so different that others were not doing. And she just had a way about her. But, she wanted to, hey, it's all about the French cooking. But yeah, from Pasadena, California.
Who knows when you start something where it may go, and you look at what it did for her. So, all right, I want to, pour a little bit more in here as we give our final toast and talk about things to the women who've done great things in both alcohol and food. So, but anyway, any special thank yous on your end?
To Rose at Freelance Spirits for the idea of the Martinez. That was perfect. That's, it was, and then of course for Sean, because on Friday I was working, and he was doing stuff that he needed to get done. And I said, well, I wanted to go get this Old Town gin. And he's all, well, can you go by yourself? I said, well, absolutely. He goes, you want to make an outing of it? And I'm like, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, but I usually don't do that on Fridays because I work. And so he's all, let's do it. So we took off into downtown Portland, picked it up. On the way north, we're like, okay, we just grabbed something, and then we had lunch back at his place, and then he got to doing stuff, and I went back to work. So we took about 2.5 hours of our day, took Maverick with us, and just got to do something different in the middle of a Friday that we normally wouldn't do, because I'm like work, but because of this Old Town Tom Gin, I got out of the house, and I actually gave, a couple of hours, 2.5 hours of my time to go explore and do something fun. So that was kind of fun. So that's where I'm at right now. So it's,
other than that, cheers to all women. All right. We're going to salute to them tonight. With that being said, before we close our podcast out tonight, there's a couple things we got to do. We got to do the homework first, right? First, if you've not looked into it, all right, we've put together an insiders club. Go to likethewayyoudrink.com. All right, there is a button there that says join the insiders club. You must be 21 years of age to join. It's going to ask you for your birthday. Please put that in, or we will not let you join. All right. Even when I went to 21 Seeds website, they asked me for my birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
It's a system that they have to have in. We have to have it in order to communicate with you. I know, because I had wine delivered over the weekend. All right. And I have to sign for it. Somebody over 21 has to sign for it.
Right.
It's the way we got to be. Anyway, but go check that out. Likethewayyoudrink.com. Must be 21 to join. We've got some great things going on and coming up. All right. As well as some alcohol that we are having distilled just for the Insiders Club. So go check that out. Shout outs of any kind. We gave our shout outs kind of. I'm shout out to the people at Nothing But Cake. Right. You guys hit the spot in the right spot at the right time. I appreciate you guys. So other than that, this show is brought to you every week, ladies and gentlemen, by Gladys and me. Our businesses pay the bills to make this thing work every week, ladies and gentlemen. Granted, we have a lot of fun doing it. Just saying. We have a lot of fun doing it. But we're going to give a shout out to our businesses right now, because our businesses is what pays the bills. All right. And in radio, somebody's got to pay the bills. So first bill we get to pay. Gladys, tell them about your business.
Gladys Boutwell Insurance by Design, helping employers become the employer of choice, because there are 101 different ways. This is my new book that's coming out, 101 Creative Ways to Attract and Retain Quality Staff. We will let you know, or I will let you know once it's going to be out here. But I help employers become that employer of choice through providing benefits. Now, there are so many different ways that you can provide benefits to your employees that will make them even more productive, which hits the bottom line, because if you treat your employees well, they're going to treat your clients well, which means return clients, which means bottom line, you're going to make more. So let's have the conversation. Go to insurancedesignpros.com so you can get the 101 ways. On the upper left-hand corner, there is a a little button so you can do not the detailed, but it's just the white paper giving you some of those 101 ways. But if you want to have a conversation, go to enrollnoworegon.com, and that will be for my scheduling calendar. And let's have the conversation. I will pass it over to my co-host, Tim.
Hey guys, my name is Tim Gillette. Simple, easy websites. We started a company last year creating websites for the small business and entrepreneur, all right, who needs to get their message out online. Now, when it comes to websites, everybody thinks they have to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars so that they can build a website, so that they can match all the SEO terms and they can get hundreds of people to come to their website. The problem is most of you don't have the budget. First of all, you need a website up. It needs to tell people who you are, what you do, and how to get a hold of you. That's what we call a working website. And at Simple Easy Websites, we will have that for you in 7 days. From there, we focus on getting your website more tuned in, but a working website, every company should have it out there. We will create it for you in 7 days or less. All right, go to simpleeasywebsites.com, book an appointment with us. We'll be glad to share with you how we can help you, or we'll give you a feedback on how your current website can be better. And that's simpleeasywebsites.com. Other than that, one more time, join the Insiders Club. Join the Insiders Club.
Yeah. Did you see the posts of some of the pictures? And I missed some of the other pictures. I was too busy talking about how to do the tequila tasting. So those are some of the events that you would be invited to.
Just saying. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week with another great episode. All right, but we're going to put number 97 in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.